When most people think of Italy, they imagine the Vatican, ancient Rome, and the Renaissance. But few realize that for over 1,000 years, Islam has been part of Italy's story. Muslim scholars walked its cities, Muslim rulers governed parts of its land, Muslim sailors crossed its seas. And even today, the call to prayer quietly echoes across parts of modern Italy. This is not a foreign chapter imposed from outside. It is a forgotten thread woven into Italy's own history. To understand how Islam reached Italy, we must go back to the 7th century, when Islam first emerged in Arabia, after the passing of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. In 632 CE, the Muslim world expanded beyond the Arabian Peninsula. Within decades, Muslim rule had reached North Africa. By the early 8th century, Muslim authority stretched across the southern Mediterranean, including present-day Tunisia and Libya. From those shores, Sicily was visible across the sea. The Mediterranean was not a barrier, it was a highway. Trade, diplomacy, and warfare moved constantly across its waters. Muslim fleets appeared near the Italian peninsula as early as the mid-7th century, conducting raids and naval expeditions. But the decisive turning point came in the 9th century. In 827 CE, Muslim forces from Ifriqiya, under the Aghlabid rulers of North Africa, landed in Sicily. Contrary to the simplified idea of a purely proactive invasion, the expedition was triggered by internal Byzantine turmoil. A Sicilian Byzantine commander named Euphemius had rebelled against Constantinople after a political dispute. Facing defeat, he sought external support and appealed to the Aghlabids for military assistance in his struggle against the Byzantine Empire. The Muslim forces did not initially arrive with a long-term plan to annex the island outright. They entered a conflict that was already unfolding. But once the campaign began, the dynamics shifted. What started as an intervention evolved into a prolonged military struggle for control. The conquest was not swift. Palermo fell in 831 CE and became the capital of Muslim Sicily. Other cities resisted for decades. The final major Byzantine stronghold, Taormina, fell in 902 CE. It took 75 years to fully consolidate Muslim rule over the island. Sicily would remain under Muslim governance for nearly 2 centuries. Under Muslim administration, Sicily was transformed economically and culturally. Palermo grew into one of the largest cities in Europe at the time, reportedly home to hundreds of mosques, thriving markets, and diverse communities. Agricultural reforms reshaped the land. Advanced irrigation systems were introduced. Citrus fruits, sugarcane, rice, cotton, and new farming techniques flourished. These innovations permanently altered southern Italy's agricultural landscape. Sicily became a bridge between the Islamic world and Europe. Muslim presence was not confined to Sicily alone. In 846 CE, Muslim raiders reached the outskirts of Rome and looted the basilicas of St. Peter and St. Paul, which then stood outside the city's defensive walls. The shock of this event led to the strengthening of Rome's fortifications under Pope Leo IV. In southern mainland Italy, the Emirate of Bari was established in 847 CE and lasted until 871 CE. For nearly 25 years, Bari functioned as a Muslim-ruled city-state on the Adriatic coast, engaging in trade and at times even forming pragmatic alliances with neighboring Christian rulers. Medieval politics were often more complex than simple religious divisions. History, however, continued to move. In the 11th century, the Normans rose to power in southern Italy. By 1091 CE, they had completed their conquest of Muslim Sicily. Yet what followed was one of the most fascinating chapters in medieval Europe. Rather than immediately erasing Islamic influence, Norman rulers adopted and preserved much of it. Under King Roger II, who ruled from 1130 to 1154, Sicily became a remarkably multicultural kingdom. Arabic remained an administrative language. Muslim scholars and craftsmen served at court. The great Muslim geographer, Muhammad al-Idrisi, was commissioned to produce the Tabula Rogeriana in 1154, one of the most advanced world maps of the medieval world. The architectural legacy still stands. The Palatine Chapel in Palermo blends Islamic geometric design with Byzantine mosaics and Latin Christian elements. It is a physical reminder of intellectual and artistic exchange. Over time, however, Muslim communities declined. In the 13th century, Emperor Frederick II relocated many Sicilian Muslims to Lucera on mainland Italy, where they formed a distinct Muslim colony. Lucera became home to thousands of Muslims, complete with mosques and institutions. But in 1300 CE, under King Charles II of Naples, the colony was dismantled. Many were killed, enslaved, or forced to convert. This effectively marked the end of organized medieval Muslim presence in Italy, yet interaction never truly ceased. Italian city-states such as Venice and Genoa maintained extensive trade with Muslim lands. Commercial partnerships with Egypt and later the Ottoman Empire shaped Mediterranean economics. Through these exchanges, ideas, goods, and knowledge flowed. It is important to remember that many classical Greek texts that contributed to the Italian Renaissance had been preserved, studied, and expanded upon by Muslim scholars in cities like Baghdad and Cordoba before re-entering Europe. Intellectual transmission across civilizations played a quiet but powerful role in shaping European development. In the modern era, Italy's relationship with the Muslim world took another turn when it colonized Libya in 1911. These colonial encounters created new and often unequal interactions between Italians and Muslim populations. The most significant transformation, however, came in the late 20th century. Economic growth turned Italy into a destination for migration. From the 1970s onward, Muslims from Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt, Albania, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and other countries began settling in Italian cities. Today, Islam is the second largest religion in Italy after Christianity, with over 2 million Muslims living across the country. Mosques and Islamic centers operate in Rome, Milan, Bologna, Palermo, and beyond. In 1995, the Great Mosque of Rome was inaugurated, becoming one of the largest mosques in Europe. Its presence reflects not conquest, but citizenship, not empire, but community. Modern challenges remain. Questions of integration, identity, and secularism continue to shape debate. Muslims in Italy, like elsewhere in Europe, face both opportunities and difficulties. But history reminds us of something deeper. Islam in Italy did not appear suddenly in the 21st century. It has roots stretching back to the 9th century, shaped by war, diplomacy, trade, and coexistence. The Muslim arrival in Sicily began within the context of Byzantine internal conflict, not as a random assault on an isolated land. Over time, that intervention evolved into governance, cultural exchange, and lasting influence. Civilizations are rarely isolated. They overlap, they influence one another, they challenge and enrich one another. When we look at Sicily's architecture, its agriculture, even elements of its vocabulary, we see traces of that shared past. When we see Muslim communities in Italy today, we are witnessing a continuation of a long historical connection. History matters because it corrects simplistic narratives. It invites us to see complexity instead of caricature. The story of Islam in Italy is not a single moment of conquest or conflict. It is a layered history of encounter, adaptation, and transformation. And that history continues to unfold. If you found this exploration valuable, make sure to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Islam with Aslan for more thoughtful, well-researched journeys through Islamic history and contemporary issues.